Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. Before I start, I would like to thank Entiva for inviting us to take part in these CyberCamp, because it's already a reference in cybersecurity in Spain. Now, today I'm going to talk about the cybersecurity training plan, which has been launched by CSIRT CV in Valencia. But I'm not only going to talk about that, because I would also like you to know a little bit about the center. I don't know if some of you know us already, but I would like to show you some of the services that we are giving. We started our activity in 2007. We are part of the tax and economic model, regional government. And we were pioneers in Spain because we were the first center to respond to incidents at a regional level. There was another center that was started at a national level, but we were the first ones to do it at a regional level. And we not only work in the Valencian region, in the Valencian community, but we also work from other public institutions such as town halls, Valencian citizens, and SMEs. We have had to adapt throughout the years to the needs for protection that society has been having all these years. They have changed a lot because in the last 12 years the landscape of cybersecurity has changed. Crime has evolved, and where before we used to face threats that were more predictable, easier to fight and mitigate, we know unfortunately how this has evolved nowadays, and that has made us evolve as well in our defense strategy. I'm not going to tell you about all the stages that we've been through, but I did want to mention what we're doing, or where we are really right now, because it's important to understand why we have deployed this strategy. Some 3-4 years ago, we had to analyze our environment very carefully to see exactly where we had to go. And that's when we realized that in society we are facing rapidly changing changes, hyperconnectivity, mobility, technological acceleration, big data, the connection that brought the Internet of Things. All in all, a combination of forces that was going to transform as nothing before had transformed in the history of humanity. So it was taking us towards a digital society, what we know as digital transformation nowadays, and at the same time a few phenomena were taking place. A very strong convergence process where fields where traditionally had been working with technologies only related to that field were starting to converge, and it looked as if we were all starting to use the same technology, same applications, same operational systems, and so the risks, unfortunately, were also convergent, because we all share them. So we were seeing already that it was taking us towards an hyper-connected environment, hyper-technological environment, the low price of mobile telephones, that universal access to everything, the fact that all systems had opened up to the internet, even systems that have not been designed for that, because that's what citizens, companies and services demand from us. So this was a phenomenon that was making our work really, really difficult for all of us who were traditionally protecting information systems. And we saw that it was becoming more and more difficult to determine where the borders were for an organization, what its perimeter was. There was the borders were getting blurred more and more, and so we drew the conclusion that the borders were people. And that is why our center deployed over 2 years ago a strategy that focused on people, on training people in cybersecurity and on making everyone understand the importance of protecting our information, both at a professional and a personal level. Now, this plan has already been launched, and it's looking to raise awareness among Valencian citizens about security of information, about the use of technology. So we want for citizens to be part of these defense. We want them to become human firewalls, people who can identify the risks that they're exposed to and who are able to face those risks. So we started a long time ago. We had to carefully analyze what we were facing, identify the groups we were going to work with, the needs also in terms of training, define what we're going to teach each group, find the channels and the formats that were going to be more adequate for every group, because it's not the same training a managing director or someone who's being a woman who has been the victim of gender violence or a teenager. And the main three groups of people we are focusing with our awareness raising is companies, public administrations, and citizens. Now, for companies, it's all ready. In a few months, we will be able to launch this program. With public administrations, we have already been working even before we gave it a name. We had already been working with them and having training for them, especially within the regional government in Valencia. And with citizens, we found that there was a great diversity, so we decided to prioritize those groups which were more vulnerable. Underage and young people, women victims of sexual violence and gender violence, but also professional groups who, because of what they do, have to deal with sensitive or confidential information that has a high value for attackers. These could be hospital doctors, judges, lawyers. We have already done training for them. But today, so as to focus on the audience that we have here at CyberCamp, I'm going to talk about what we're doing for young people and underage people. You have all heard that teenagers are considered to be digital natives because you have been born with technology. You haven't had to suffer the adaptation process that we or other groups have had to undergo, and the fact that you haven't had to adapt, which is really good, makes at the same time that the teenager group, the group of teenagers, think that they are experts and they undervalue risks. They don't see themselves as victims, and hence this makes it more threatening, the different risks that they can face. So the lack of awareness, together with the false security or feeling of security the internet brings, we have started this plan. Now, we are not only focusing on teenagers, but also on the parents and on their teachers. Why? Because we are aiming every single school and education center, private or public, in the region, and we're going to prioritize second and third year of secondary education student. Why? Because there are several actors in society who have a shared objective with us. There's INCIBE, who is bringing very, very valuable help to these groups with the cyber helpers. Many people who work at our center are also cyber helpers, and we know that INCIBE has very valuable material. We started actually at the beginning. We had meetings with them because, facing such a big group, we wanted to work together, not to compete against each other, but rather to find where we could help each other. We saw that in FIBE was a bit more centered on primary school children, and so we thought that we could take from what they had already started and focus on second and third year of secondary school. Why also parents and teachers? Well, because we do talk about digital natives, but I think it would be rather more accurate to say digital orphans, because neither parents nor teachers know how to deal with the relationship that the children have with technology. And it is very easy to go like an ostrich and hide your head and say, well, this is not from my generation. My son or my daughter already knows a lot about this. But we're going to show you how training and teaching children has actually a very positive effect. Now, what we are doing is we're having awareness raising sessions and workshops with students, also with their parents and with teachers. Everything aimed at students. We had to thought about how we were going to do it, how to draw their attention, because as you know, it's not easy to get teenagers interested, especially in things that they already think they're experts on. And we're having really good results, I might say. So we have like little training pills. And what's really innovative is how we present them. We get them into a room for 1.5 hours with a speaker who leads the session and simulates the typical behavior of a teenager. And so we recreate in the room a technological environment which is exactly the same as teenagers will find on their day-to-day. Same kind of devices, tablets, applications, games. And so the speaker will portray a student, and there will be a hacker with them during the session who is making the most out of all the mistakes that the speaker is making to steal their passwords, to assert their personality, and reactions that are very diverse. Some of them actually get angry. Most of them want to learn to be hackers, but it's true that they pay attention from the word go. They didn't stop listening. So other than these sessions, we're not just going to teach them a lesson and say, see, you're vulnerable too. So what we do is after this, we take them to a workshop with less people, and we give them the resources for them to be able to manage their security. We teach them how to use password managers, because they're all used to having exactly the same passwords which are predictable, writing them on a post-it, telling them to a friend and then not change it. Well, all the bad practices that you can imagine. We teach them to limit permissions in the applications that they use, limit visibility of the publications on social media, configure the mobile devices in a safe way, the double authentication factor. So basically, we just give them the necessary tools for them not to be so vulnerable once they have realized that they are indeed vulnerable. And we also have sessions for parents. And well, the approach is the same sort of training pills, but obviously the approach is a bit different, because our idea is that they get to know, first of all, the language that their children use, that they know the typical behavior when it comes to technology use, and at the end of the day, that we give parents the resources they need to be able to help their children in something which is as crucial as the relationship with technology. And at the end of the session, we run surveys, and we'll show you the results afterwards. We get really good assessments, but they're all unanimous in saying that it's not so complicated if we give it a little bit of work, and the children don't know as much as they think they do. So we also have training sessions for teachers, and we do that in the last few days once we've had the experiences with parents, with children, and we explain the same thing, but with a double objective. On the one hand, being the first line to ask questions for their students, and on the other hand, to also make them aware of the sensitivity, the empathy that they need to have on certain behaviors like sexting and grooming, which are unfortunately increasing continuously. Now, we've seen that it is good to group them in certain ways so that they can all go. And, well, the structure was not designed like this at the beginning. We had a pilot session together with the Regional Government for Education, who, through the Association and the Network of Secondary School Directors, gave us 14 private public centers in Castellón, Valencia and Alicante, where we could test the efficacy of our plan, and with that and the suggestions that we obtained, we launched the program, and we're currently undergoing it. One of the things that we were told is that it was very important to foster and to encourage parents to take part, because the older the children are, the less parents go to parent-teacher meetings at school, even if they find it interesting. So we helped directors to explain all the requirements, leaflets to send to parents. We even give them the letter to give to the parent association of the school, and then they do whatever they want, obviously, because they know their students and their parents. But that, together with word of mouth, has really helped to increase parents' participation in these sessions. And to finish this part, I just wanted to show you what both students and parents tell us about the survey. So we asked students whether they knew the threats that we had explained before we showed them to them, and about 70% said they did, well, whatever. Then we asked them about the favorite subjects, and then we've added a few things that we hadn't had into account at the beginning. Then we asked them whether they felt more prepared to face these threats after the sessions, and 94% said yes, this was really useful. Now, concerning comments, I have only brought those which have been more relevant, that it was very interesting, that it did draw their attention, which is a success. There's no school where at least 10 or 15 students say they want to be hackers. I imagine they want to be ethical hackers, but well. Anyway, we do seem to manage to raise awareness amongst them about cybersecurity, and that is the objective at the end of the day. Now, concerning teachers' answers, the results are very similar to those of the parents, although you can see a bit of contrast concerning the perception that parents and teachers have of the knowledge of threats that children have compared to what they actually think they have. And most parents and teachers think that teenagers are actually not aware of these threats. They all think that they need information such as the one we offer in these sessions. They think it's very interesting, adequate, and very interesting to have parents and teachers together. One thing I didn't mention before that we realized during the pilot sessions, we used to only call the parents of the students who were going to attend the sessions, and then we thought, well, if the center can fit all the parents in the school in a room, then why not have them all, so that there are no restrictions nowadays. anymore, so parents and teachers can come if there's room for everyone.
So the comments from the teachers are more or less the same. That's very interesting. That's well organized. It should be obligatory. And the surveys from parents are similar to those of the teachers of what they think about how aware their children are aware of them. All around 90% believe they are aware of the risks, and whether or not they thought the sessions were useful, most said they were. The comments from the parents were also very similar to those given by teachers. I just wanted to bring you some figures to show you how far we've gone up until last month. We've reached 14,500 people between teachers, students, mothers and fathers in Castellón, Valencia and Alicante. By the end of the year, we want to go to another 28 schools, and for next year, by the end of June, 37 schools have already requested participation in these sessions, and whilst we have options to include them, then we'll continue including schools. So during the launch phase, we doubled the team, and now we will have a third team. So we will probably increase their participation in the sessions. So this was about the plan that we have for cybersecurity in Valencia, aimed at young people and adolescents. But this isn't everything that we do in the plan. But I'd like to talk about other services that we are offering. We also work in other areas. We don't only work for the Valencian Community Council, but we work for other administrations as well. These are the blocks of services that we offer, and as the same as any CSIRT, not only here in Valencia, all the services offered in each community are broken up into three parts, which are prevention in the first instance, services for detection, everything that we do in terms of when and where incidents are happening in our area. And there's a group of services for response. I'll briefly go into what we do in the prevention services, other than the awareness and the plan that I was talking about for and training. The government in Valencia has a number of technological parks that, or technological centers that give support to citizens and to businesses and other institutions and to their own employees. It's a very complex ecosystem with more than 250,000 entities and many different servers, and all the electronics for the network, and around 1,500, I think, applications we have. The object is to ensure that these services and these IT entities are safe. And if they are not safe, then we can't guarantee the safety of all the data and all the services that we provide. Obviously, this is a huge job that we have to carry out to ensure that everything is secure and safe. So what do we do? I'll explain this a little bit now, and specifically what we do here with relation to the local government. It's from 2 points of view in terms of the infrastructure for IT. We have the vision from the outside in terms of our technological services, and also from the inside, from the corporate network. This enables us to find some issues that we have in security and ways of resolving them. And we also have intrusion tests. any application, any corporate application that is going to be used should go through an intrusion test before it is used. There are tests for vulnerabilities to identify these vulnerabilities, and what we do is that one of our analysts goes in and goes to the information system and tries to penetrate it in the same way as a hacker would. This brings up any gaps that we have in our security before an application goes out. We have an environment security services as well, reports and alerts, and we have more than 50 people working in the council and the local government receive a daily report regarding the main threats for each day in terms of vulnerabilities that could affect them, malicious traffic, peer-to-peer access, insecure access, remote access that have not been authorized, and so on. Information that allows them to secure their environment. We have a malware laboratory that we analyze the software because they have been put onto our platform or because we have detected themselves due to a proactive analysis, and that we think that they need to be analyzed in order to extract the data from them and to feed back into our system. Then we have a number of other services regarding technical and legal consultancy. With regard to data protection and other areas, we do follow-up analyses and audits, analysis of risks, and then last of all, we have the section that is not only directed towards citizens, because all of the other ones are also for our citizens as well, and to ensure that they are safe. But these services at the bottom for dissemination of information and training and awareness are more directly for citizens, and citizens come and look at that on our webpage. So let's have a little look at some of these services so that you can see and understand which of these might be of interest to you. So the CSIRT CVGVA was the first web page that we had for the public, and we covered matters related with security and news regarding the main vulnerabilities in applications, the kind of applications that people would generally use. This is also available in another format, such as bulletins and notice boards, and people can sign up to these through this web page, and as such get information regularly. But we only send out information when we have to advise of something in particular. It could be any phishing that has been going on, information on incidents that have occurred, and there's another section regarding preventing any kind of infection and in order to be able to navigate in a safe manner. So this is the main image of the center to the general public. But now, for the last 2 years, we've also had another portal which is specifically for different others. The portal has an increasing amount of information of interest for citizens and people who use the internet, so that they have information on awareness and knowledge of using networks. It's aimed at all ages, all levels, people who are more technical, people who are not, and it's available in different formats. We have training courses that are free. They are advertised on the web page, and we have some more specialized courses and a little bit longer courses, as well as micro courses, and these are related with subjects and areas that people who have no idea of cybersecurity can relate to, such as using the internet safely, malware, an introduction to cybercrime, wireless networks, and so on. There's a great deal of availability. And then there's more technical issues, such as Android devices and Nmap. And I think people in general, on the whole, wouldn't need to use these, but these are available for whoever wants to sign up. The center always has profiles on social media, and we use these to send out campaigns, awareness campaigns, and advice on different areas. Some come out in certain seasons, such as the ones in the summer, regarding attacks that you can be aware of, we need to be aware of as you go on holiday or when you're shopping. But also we do campaigns with other subjects, such as the one we did covering the elections, so that we could teach citizens to distinguish between fake and real news, and also how to make their devices safe, how to make businesses safe. And these campaigns can be followed online, and all this information and all this advice is prepared in a guide format also, and available for whoever wishes to download it. We also have information on specific subjects, such as things that are going on, threats that are happening around Christmas, or threats on the Internet of Things, or precautions that you need to keep in mind on different devices. And these are a range of different subjects that we cover and are available to download. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the guidelines that we have. This is regarding security or own conduct. And we have collaboration with entities such as INCIBE. And I think it's worth mentioning because our different guidelines cover different areas. And now we have more than 1,200,000. So there are some that are very technical, and these are being used rather a lot. So in terms of prevention services, there are many that we have, but I can't mention them all here. Please have a look at our two web pages. I'm sure you'll find information of interest there. And now I'd like to go on to talk a little bit now about other of the big areas of work that we have in our center, which are the detection services. So despite the amount of technology that is used for detection services, this is the most simple of the manual of all the systems that we have. I'll talk about everything that we have in our corporate red and the analysis that we undertake, but we have also noticed that as we increase awareness amongst users, then there are also a number of threats that they are able to detect and report. Beyond the corporate network, we have an ability to cut traffic, and we're able to analyze gigabytes per second. And soon we will have another system similar to this. We have a cluster of 3 detection systems on the corporate network and probes in specific parts of the network. So how does this work? I'd like to explain this graph up on here. On the bottom, you can see the protected domain of the local council and government, and this is a layer that covers and collects all the alerts that are generated. Down here, you can see elements of our network, that firewalls, traffic, consoler for the antivirus, email, and so on. And all these are continually being monitored, and they emit or give out alerts. So daily we process 500,000 alerts a day on average. Obviously, there is a lot of rubbish, and if we weren't able to process that, then they wouldn't be able to know what is going on there with all that information. So we have Triton that deals with that. This is the upper layer, and this engine, what it does is that it activates daily with the most recent attacks that have tried to exploit vulnerabilities. And what we try to do is to analyze if those alerts that are coming up on our corporate network are similar to any of those attacks that we are already aware of. When this happens, and when something that is detected seems to be a security incident, there is a report that goes up to the top level. It's the management consoler, where all the analysts work and all the people at the center work. And there's a safety analyst who takes that report, investigates it, researches it, and determines if there are any false positives. And then we could resolve the incident. So all of this is called CIEM. It's a monitoring system. It's based on Valencian technology. It's the public administration that supplies this for us, and we've been using it right since the start of the center. We have the early alert center, we have vigilance on open lines, and we have events so that you know what are trap networks and lines, so that you can differentiate between different services and analyze the behavior of attackers. So going on from detection, when we've detected something and we've determined if it's or whether or not it's a false positive, then we have a response service. I'd like to highlight the fact that the response services cover all the stages of an incident until it is detected, contained, and at the end, the feedback that we get from our prevented systems and the lessons that are learned from each incident. It's a matter of finding out and learning and what the patterns of the attack have been, and we feed that back into our system, into our defense system. The incidents that we have dealt with since we have been working with have been more than 10,500, and more than 150 of these have been critical ones. Most of these have been fraud, malicious, or related to email. We have been able to intervene quickly, and what we do is when there's a very relevant incident and when it's moving very fast, then what we do is that we have a group of analysts in security, and they go to that organism, to that local government building, and they deal with that. We have forensic analysis services that we also set up when there is an incident that we have to investigate in detail, and with the analysis of the incidents that have come up recently, we've done that, and we've worked alongside the Civil Guard in these incidents. And this forensic analysis service is very complex and detailed. We coordinate with all the different other groups of work in terms of the containment and resolution of these issues. So this is what a CSIRT group will do in terms of detection and response. But I also need to talk about collaboration and exchanging information. you will have realized that threats have increased incredibly over the last few years, and therefore collaboration strategies also need to be complex. So CSIRT has increased its presence in terms of the response to incidents, and we believe that collaboration is essential and sharing information as well. Since 2009, we have been part of a European forum. There are about 400 different entities involved across Europe, and we are part of the Forum for Response to Incidents. And we are members of a group here in Spain, CSIRT.es, that was set up in 2009. At the time, we were only 6 entities, but now I believe we are over 40. And we were selected last year to lead the group. And of course, we collaborate with the 2 main CSIRTs in Spain. There is one entity that's the reference for the public administration, but there's also an entity that covers the citizens and small and medium-sized enterprises. And in the coming days, we will formalize a collaboration with these entities.
And as you know, it is focused on citizens and companies. We also belong to other groups, and it is very important to highlight that we have a stronger collaboration with our police forces and security forces, especially with the civil guard in Spain. I just wanted to give you some numbers here so that you get an idea of our activity. We have dealt with some 500 security issues, of which over 100 were of high security criticality. We've had over 4 million visits to our portal. We're not very big, but we are your reference center in the region. That is all from me. I just wanted to let you know that we are here at your service, that you work a lot, that we work a lot so that we're all safe on the internet. That's it. I don't know if you have any questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's been very interesting. I would like to know how you deal with offer and demand between schools and your workshops, because you mentioned that there was a pilot, I understand, with the regional educational authority, but how does it work for the following stages? How do they get in touch with you? Do you have yeah, I'm going to go backwards on my presentation because I think I have here how you can ask to collaborate. It's true we had pilot stage, and I haven't mentioned it, but after that the Regional Secretary for Education sent a letter to all educational centres, be it public or private, in the region, offering them the possibility to enroll and take part in this plan. The thing is, the centre directors have to ask for it. They can do it through OBISE, which is a platform they know very well. They can send an email to CSIRT CV, or they can give us a call. But, as I was saying, the centre directors have to request it. But there have been cases where a parent has been to his daughter's school and has seen that they had this session, but at their son's they didn't have it, so they have called and asked for information. So we do not discriminate. And the only thing is that spots are filling up really quickly. We have 2.5 teams who work on these trainings, because we have people who are not 100% working on this. So as long as we have slots available, we are happy to do this on every school. You have answered my question. Thank you very much. But there was another question. Do you apply some filters depending on demand, depending on the number of students that can attend? No, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter the kind of school, be it private or public. I think there has only been a case where on the same day, 3 centers wanted to have the training, but we only had 2 groups, and the ones who had already done it the previous year, we said, well, can you not find another date? Well, if there is a conflict, we don't have an algorithm, we do it manually, but we do talk to the schools, even if the students are not the same, because obviously those who were doing the second year of secondary education, you have new students in second year this year, but obviously depending on the school's facilities and the number of students, if there aren't too many, you can have the 2 age groups together, but obviously you shouldn't have over 40 people on the same workshop, because otherwise it's way too many. So that's more or less the capacity requirements, and there are schools who are asking us to go there for 3 days because they're really big centers and they're in Alicante stay, so whilst we're there, instead of doing 2, we'll do 3, and so we can have this for everyone. So are quite reasonable. You have the calendar, the timeline, our planning there, but we do try to adapt to every school. Thank you. Was there another question over here? There was someone over there who wanted to ask a question. Well, thank you very much. You have mentioned about gender violence, but I'm not very sure in which context you do work. Yeah, it's true. I haven't gone in depth with that because today we were talking about underage people mostly, but we have worked in this area. First of all, we got in touch with the Institute for Women, Instituto de la Mujer. We explained our idea, and it was through them, well, actually they were the ones who called upon women victims that go to their centers, but also women who live under monitoring in houses because they don't have enough resources and they live in foster homes. And so the Institute for Women was the one who got in touch or who channeled the request. We started working only for women, but there was also people who work with them and were coming, and they said, well, we would be interested in knowing a bit more because we could help them better. So what we did is have workshops on the same day or on the following day, which were a bit more technical and more practical, so that the people who work with them, which is usually women, but so that they knew that once they see something, they can help women. They have told us about cases where women are threatened online. The threatener lives with them, so they see that they have a threat through WhatsApp, and they make and the person, the man, makes them delete it. So we show them how to share it to someone who is close to them and then delete it so that the husband doesn't get angry. So that once you sit down with them and see the different cases, then you come up with more solutions. So that's why I was saying at the beginning that it's not the same training someone who's been victim of sexist violence, because everyone has different objectives. And then the technology the women who are victims of violence use is very different to that of teenagers, for example. What we didn't know, for example, is that women who live in foster homes use contact or dating networks where they would expose some pictures with pictures of with children of women who lived with them, or they used dating networks that are filled with harassers. So you have to study every case, and I don't want to talk too much because I only have 1 more minute. Yes, we have channeled everything through the Institute for Women. Thank you. Any more questions? Doesn't seem to be any more questions. Well, I hope this is clear what your reference point is, and I hope that you start using our services from now on. Thank you very, very much for being here.